the reason people go legalistic and the reason people will take a more greasy type approach to grace. And again, I didn't even know what that word was. Um, I'm just looking back on that event and using that word. He didn't use that word with me. But what he said to me was people who don't believe in God's mercy, they do one or two things. One, they end up going a legalistic route where they try to live so perfect, they don't have to worry that they don't believe in God's mercy because they don't think they're really doing anything wrong anyway because they're living so perfectly. So, in that way, they've kind of found themselves a workaround for not believing the mercy of God because they're not committing any sin because they're trying to live so perfectly for God. And what happens with these people is you're going to end up failing and you're going to fail miserably. But then what gets you to double down and try again is not because you think God's merciful on you, really. And you do believe that, up to a point. Heck, you got born again. It's obvious you believe that God had mercy on you. But because that emotion is so strong in you that you don't feel like you have God's mercy, that you don't believe God is merciful on you. So what gets you to come back and try again is you now even double down your effort. Oh Lord, I'm sorry for that sin. I'm going to do even better in the future. And you try even harder to live perfect before God. And of course, that ends terrible. I mean, that's why a lot of people gravitate towards these radical grace messages that allow for a lascivious lifestyle, is because we hate that sense of having to try to do more and more and more to get right with God. Then he said the other group of people that don't believe in the mercy of God are the people who they get around the fact that they don't really believe God will have mercy on them, is that they don't call anything sin to begin with, so therefore there's no need to have the mercy. Because what they're doing is okay, no matter what it is, even if it is sin, to them it's not sin, and that's kind of freed them up from having to worry about the fact that they don't believe in mercy because they're not committing sin, because all these sinful acts they say are now okay to do. And that was eye-opening, and again, kind of long story short, but so as I got freed of this legalism, which I've never been free from or begun to be free, and I understand thoroughly how you could go to the other extreme to where, okay, I'm not legalistic anymore, so then I begin to excuse sin, saying, oh, it's okay. So I understood that, but you know what? I freely chose to go into a life of sin, and I used that as my own excuse that, it's okay to do all these sins because, there's nothing really wrong with it anyway. Jesus paid for it. So again, I wasn't believing in his mercy, and I did away with that by saying what I am doing now is not sin. And it started slow at first for maybe the first, few days, but then it got quicker and quicker. I allowed all kinds of lasciviousness into my life, so trust me, I understand this radical grace mindset.